Peace, what's good? How y'all doing? This is ZaZa Ali. Today is Tuesday, November 4th, 2024. I pray this message reaches you all in the best of health, spirit, and mind. Probably haven't seen this much of me since I don't know when. Well, I guess if I do a 2 hour live, I guess it's the same thing, right? But I wanted to bring or drop some jewels, some information from the science of sex, as you can see there on your screen. And this particular subject is going to be cultivating an understanding of female anatomy and sexual energy. And there is also a section particular to cultivating and understanding male anatomy and sexual energy, right? Dealing with semen retention, the microcosmic orbit, sacral chakras, chi, functional or yin channel, etc. But today I want to focus on cultivating an understanding of female anatomy and sexual energy. And I think this is a topic I've been talking about in a lot of different ways for a long time now. I've found that a lot of our culture, not just Black culture, but American culture, tend to be not mature enough to talk about these things publicly. So I don't really, bring this subject to my channel too much, just because I get a lot of weird energy when I do. I don't expect that to happen this time. I'm putting that out into the ethers. But in terms of the dichotomy of the male-female relationship right now, in terms of the condition of, a great number of our children and the status of our relationships, divorce rates, etc., I think that this is a very important topic. And as I've said continuously, we have to find a way to balance indulgence and discipline. And the majority of, especially in mainstream culture, the conversation, the visualization, the videos, the music, the stuff that's on television. I mean, I can't tell you, start to pay attention to how many shows you watch. And 50 Cent a lot of his shows do this. Just, he's came to mind because it's true, where the episode starts off with a sex scene. So they're putting you in a certain frequency and vibration for the remainder of the episode. That is a very strategic thing to do. But on page 39 of The Science of Sex, Cultivating an Understanding of Female Anatomy and Sexual Energy, this is a quote from ZaZa Ali. Women will never be properly and fully respected when vibrating on a consciousness based on sexuality as a reference point to interact with men, meaning leading with your sexuality, especially from the lower nature. So understanding that, as with everything, when it comes to your sexual energy, it is expressed either through your higher self or your lower self, right? So being expressed through your higher self is like connecting with your soulmate and both of you being aligned in mind, body, and spirit, and having a sexual experience with someone on that level, which doesn't always require sex, but it can still cultivate and exasperate sexual energy, spiritual sexual energy, right? Sexual energy from the lower nature is like the R word, is like the Diddy situation, is like the Mr. Jeffrey Epstein situation. I don't know why I spelled his name because I don't want to get my video demonetized, but you get where I'm going with this. The promiscuous energy of a song in a video like WAP. Okay, that is the lower nature of sexual energy expressing. And so they put the reflection of the lower nature in front of us and in front of our children continuously to keep us locked in at low vibrational frequency. So to continue on with my quote, the woman has two wombs or birth canals, one that produces physical life and the other her omnipresence, birthing mental, emotional, and spiritual worlds. While the physical womb is dormant at times, the mental womb is always precarious, looking for students, teachers, and reflections of the Creator in all of her endeavors. That is, as it pertains to a queen, self-ruled goddess. That's my goal. That's what I'm striving for. And that is hopefully through my life's work, what I will help to inspire other women and girls to at the same time. So some of the Q&A section of this particular part of the book is: recall your first conversation with a female figure regarding the subject of sex. What was the nature of the conversation and what perspectives or opinions did you develop as a result? This is important for women and for girls, because a lot of us have never even, and this part can be filled out by men too, but a lot of us have never even had healthy relationships with other women, let alone having conversation about sex, let alone elevating the level of the conversation about sex in terms of spirituality, because we're spiritual beings having a human experience. I don't know why this light is beaming off this background. It wasn't doing that in the previous videos, but I digress. When it comes to family history, is your family dynamic as it pertains to girls and women healthy in matters of sex? Example, high teenage pregnancy, history of sexually transmitted diseases, history of the R word, um, SA or sex abuse, open and easy conversations regarding the subject in terms of healthy male female dynamics. Do you have healthy male female dynamics in your family? Do you have healthy male female dynamics right now? This is for men and women. And you don't have to be in a relationship with someone you don't have to be in a relationship with men to have a relationship with men, right? And I said that I think in the intro of Keys to Womanhood, where, you know, most of the men that women engage with, we're not going to have relationships with. And so starting to look towards men, look towards the male, I was going to say male species, but looking towards men and starting to, not everything doesn't need to be about sex and about, couples and relationships. Like, we need to start learning how to respect one another. And I think that's why having these conversations about sex is important. And then also having relationships with men that don't include sex is extremely important. That's what I wanted to say in the opening of Keys to Womanhood. Most of the men, the partners that women take on, and men probably can relate to this too, that we end up taking on in terms of sexual partners, probably should have just been friends. And if we didn't take the relationship to the next level in terms of sex and all that emotional, chaotic energy getting involved, if it became that, and just remained as friends or remained as platonic relationships that didn't go there, it would have kept us from a lot of turmoil, a lot of heartache. Because a lot of times you look back at those relationships and wish you could take that one back, right? Ladies, y'all feel me? I know you do. What is your opinion about society's views when it comes to matters of sex, sexual anatomy, and sexual expression as it pertains to women? And again, all of those questions can be answered by men as well. This is just a particular subject about the female anatomy and sexual energy. And I would implore, for me to study male male anatomy, right? Understanding the how that process works is important. That's why I put it in the book, because, I think it helps women to understand how men operate and navigate the world, and vice versa, right? There's a quote from the White Tigress Manual. Hopefully some of you guys are familiar with that book. If you cannot face directly into your sexuality, you will never discover your true spirituality. Your earthly spirit leads to discovering your heavenly spirit. Look at what created you to discover what will immortalize you. And then this is a quote from The Alchemy of Love and Lust. The most well-known and most feared hormonal pattern is the female menstrual cycle. In fact, day by day, a woman's body and brain are awash in a different situation, and this brew alters her behavior and her view of the world around her. 28 different shades of the same woman. While the relative amounts of key hormones circulating in the body vary daily and usually gradually, in some cases, they change abruptly. From one phase of a woman's cycle to another, the changes are always dynamic. Estrogen, testosterone, progesterone, I'm not saying it right, and other substances come and go like dancers in a ballet. We are all familiar with the physical signs and mood swings of the hormonal dance, but remarkably, the more subtle effects often elude us. Most of us realize that many women become irritable premenstrually, but not that more relationship conflicts occur at that time than any other, and that it is probably the most common time for an argument to trigger a separation or even a divorce. There are no studies to prove this statement beyond a doubt, but common sense tells you that this is the most potentially explosive time of the month for relationships. Beyond this the established monthly cycles, women also live what amounts to three lives after puberty. The first is between puberty and menopause, lasting between 30 and 40 years. The second and third depend on how she deals with menopause, a condition that may last even longer than her first phase, from 40 to 50 years, perhaps half of her life. Women experience this period in one of two different ways, leading to dramatically different lives depending upon whether they take hormone replacement therapy or not. Some do both. um, Hormone replacement therapy after a few years, then nothing, or vice versa. It is important, this is no longer a quote now, this is me. It is important for women to recognize the connection between their emotional self and the sexual rhythms of their body, the sexual rhythm of their bodies. The biological timing expressed through the menstrual cycle validates this connection. The tumultuousness that many experience during this time emphasizes the woman's need to be aware of her mood swings and bodily functions. It also verifies the emotional focus of womanhood. During these cycles, intuition is heightened and can be cultivated as a superpower with proper diet, breathing, and meditation. One thing that I will leave you women with, if you have bad cycles, if you have a lot of pain, a lot of cramps and discomfort during your cycle, start doing a fast. And I get into this more in Keys to Womanhood, in the Keys to Womanhood workbook. Start doing a fast 1 week before your cycle starts. And for me, I'm doing, no food, tea and water. So I used to line my fast up with my cycle, right? So I wouldn't be eating at all. But a week before your cycle starts, do a fast, do a raw food fast, smoothies, tea, water, and just living foods, nothing cooked. And if you can stand it, do an actual fast and watch the difference in the way your cycle comes on. It'll be shorter. It'll be less painful. There will be less cramping. It'll totally change the way that you see or the way that you experience your cycle, but it takes discipline and it takes willpower, right? So I think that these conversations are important because, again, our culture in particular, and we're not seeing the world through the lens of these children, through the lens of these young girls. Like I said did I say this in a video? Maybe I said it in a video, but I think I was in a dinner conversation the other day. Our young women are having abortions as a means of birth control now. And I shouldn't even say young women because it's probably variance in age right now, right? Do you know, and girls and women should know this, there are only 6 days out of the month that you can actually get pregnant. 6 days out of a 30-day or a 31-day or a 28-day cycle that you can actually get pregnant, right? And so once you learn the way your particular biological clock works, once you learn how the system of your body works, if you stay on top of it and pinpoint your unique cycle. And birth control pills are all of these studies and stuff that are coming out about birth control pills now will blow your mind. That's another conversation for another day, how it totally disrupts the estrogen and hormonal system. Not to mention is tied to ovarian cancer, miscarriages, and a whole other plethora of illnesses, especially when it comes to the female anatomy, and even sterilization, not being able to have children. So if you understand, and I get deeper into this in the Keys to Womanhood workbook, but a woman can only get pregnant 6 days out of a month, right? So there's really a built-in birth control mechanism for us, but we have to study ourselves. God didn't just give us, God gave us everything, but it has to be mined. It has to be studied. We have to study ourselves. This is not just, like the physical body of the female, the fact that we bring life through a portal from an unknown realm of consciousness and awareness into physical reality just is fascinating. It blows my mind. So this is the backdrop of the science of how all that stuff works, right? Imagine if our daughters were learning and being taught this type of science, because it is science about themselves, at 10, 11, 12 years old, not to emphasize or to push them out into the world to have sex. But again, creating the scholars and the scientists and the forget that creating a awareness of how your body operates and works, especially because a lot of these young sisters are getting their cycles at 10, 11, and 12 years old, and sometimes even earlier. And a lot of that has to do with diet. If you're eating these chickens that have all these hormones, I talked about this in the scientific intervention in our affairs, it creates an onset of early puberty where girls 8, 9, and 10 years old are starting to develop breasts and curves, and you know what I mean? Their body is entering into a phase normal earlier than what it's supposed to. A lot of that is connected to diet. So I've gotten a lot of flack over the years for trying to talk about sexual discipline, which always has ceased to amaze me. In this timeline in 2024, especially if you are single and you are not cultivating some level of sexual discipline, right? Not just because of what's out there, but because your body is sacred, your temple is sacred. O ye woman, O ye young ladies, O ye young men, O ye men, right? This is the cultivation of becoming a king, becoming a queen. Everybody don't have access to the queen. Everybody don't have access to the king. Everybody shouldn't, and for damn sure, if we're talking goddess and god energy, that's a whole different ball game. Going back to what I said in a previous video about being self-ruled and self-governed. You can't be a ruler of self and not have discipline. And this is one of the main ways when I say depression and anxiety is how the devil gets in, right? And that's a fact because that's where he lives. But sexual energy, look at celebrity culture. I saw a video of Rihanna earlier today, just popped up in my feed. Somebody, one of her fan pages, I guess, shared it. And she was showing her one of her Fenty products. I guess it was a lotion or maybe a facial product or something. And so she's got a glass, a champagne glass, and she's taking the bottle and she's squirting the liquid, which is a white looking liquid, in the glass. And so, okay, I'm not thinking anything of it. She's just kind of showing the texture of it or whatever. And then she moves the glass up to her mouth, into her face. And now she's, I was about to say releasing the liquid, but oh my God. She's pressing the pump in the liquid, but she's doing it close to her mouth, where it almost looks like the liquid is coming out of her mouth. And you can tell she knows what she's doing because, you know what I'm saying? It's like super, super obvious, but you know, I don't know. Once you have children and you get to a certain level in your career, I feel like you shouldn't have to sell sex anymore. And she doesn't have to sell sex anymore, but sex sells. So, hey, if you're trying to sell products, do what you got to do. But this is all from the Science of Sex workbook. Says volume 1, because I'm going to eventually take this book and magnify it and turn it into a volume 2, because there is a lot of wisdom that I have from life experience, but my studies and research that I want to add to this and make this a larger body of work. But in the meantime, this is a part of the Metaphysics Workbook Bundle, which is on sale right now, 15% off until tomorrow at midnight, Tuesday, November 5th at midnight. So thank you guys for listening and tuning in, and I appreciate you. Peace and love.